Good morning, good afternoon, hello, folks, and welcome to Campaign Update.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Amen.
How you living?
Doing good. I'm Feena Bonoan, and I am the U.S. Senate candidate for Florida. Thank you for tuning in. We got some great candidates coming on today. Mike Scott, U.S.
Libertarian U.S. Senate nominee, great state of Maryland.
Yes, sir. So we've got two great candidates coming on today. We've got Sid Daoud, who's running for U.S. Senate out of Montana. And we have Bob Drach. Drach. I think I'm saying this right. He's going to correct me, I'm sure.
He'll correct us.
From North Carolina, running for state auditor. And we have 2 weeks left until the election.
Wow.
2 weeks. That's it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So this is this week. Next week, we have the last U.S. Senate candidate for Libertarian Party from Wisconsin. Phil Anderson's going to be on next week, along with a congressional candidate from Missouri.
And we had all 11?
We have. That was my goal.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Mike, I know you're learning this about me. Some folks that are watching may already know this about me, but I am very much so a goal-oriented person. I don't set goal. I will set a really high goal, but I also set obtainable goals. So one of my obtainable goals was to get all the U.S. Senate candidates on the show somehow, some way. We were going to do it.
Yeah, no, that's laudable. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any chance of us getting Chase or Mike back on here for the last one for their own update instead of Amber?
Yes. So November 5th. Remember the 5th of November. Election day is on a Tuesday. And so I'm going to have Chase Oliver on for that because we're both going to be in Dallas. And maybe Mike can pop in. I haven't talked to him personally about it. Good morning, Mercedes. Hello, Mercedes from Nebraska. And
I went to Nebraska, Omaha. That was my undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
So I was at Offutt.
So let me get into my campaign update, what we did this week. Had a lot of interviews, but I did another video for you guys. So I'm just going to play that. Bonoan, and I approve this message.
Oh, welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. So happy that you will give me a chunk of your afternoon. It's a little bit past 4 p.m. on the East Coast. And all the time, I hear people tell me things like, you libertarians, you don't ever run anybody locally. All you do is go every 4 years and run for president, and that's it. It's not true. We run for president every 4 years. That's true. But we also run locally. We run statewide elections. We run local elections. We run city council elections, all of them. And that's one reason why I do this. I bring those libertarians here so you can see that we are running candidates all over the country all the time. And one of them, who's a personal friend of mine, who has both walked the walk and talked the talk and is fighting all the way to the end, because she always does, is someone who is running right now for Senate, U.S. Senate, not even state Senate, U.S. Senate. She's not playing games. U.S. Senate in Florida, the one, the only, Feena Bonoan. How are you?
Hi, Larry. Thank you for having me.
So I get where you're going with that. I now want to move to the weed part.
Okay.
Right. Now, my worry with weed is always the same, which is the same way it happened in New York. They don't just decriminalize. They make massive regulations so that the little guy gets crushed. And so the big companies make all the money off the weed. Then they say they're going to help black people, and they don't. They just give like, well, here's my, and I'll use the word I don't care. Here are my 2 token black people that I will trout out and say that, look, we're helping black people. But then everything else goes to my big cronies who make big dollars, my big real estate company, my big farms, all those things.
I get it.
Do you have that same worry in Florida or no?
Absolutely. That has been the big pushback for this initiative, has been there's no homegrown on it. That's a
Bingo.
big thing.
Yep.
Because that's your local farmer.
Yep.
And so what it is, Florida has its own way of doing things, and you can only put one issue, one thing on the ballot, one thing. So right now it's for recreational.
I would
And
take
it's a lot of
zero.
words. Huh?
So New York has 0, so I'll take the 1. But go ahead. Yes.
So the homegrown aspect of it is in regulation. Now, this to me, I'm gonna sound like a jerk, but I'm gonna say it anyways. This to me is a typical example of Democrats' model, right? You give them just little pieces at a time. And this is also why we need a libertarian in the U.S. Senate and in the House, because we've been asking for the pie the whole time on legalization of marijuana for decades, and we have not gotten it. We've been getting crumbs. We've been getting piecemeal, starting out with medical, and only for certain cases. And now we're just getting certain states and municipalities. And in the whole time where we started was, this should be legal. It should be, people shouldn't be going to jail for this.
Yep.
And so part of ending the drug war and ending any war is releasing the prisoners of war. And unless, we need to talk about that. We need to have a plan for that. We need to make sure that these folks that were put in prison for years for these crimes have a way that they can make it back into society, have that record expunged.
I am so glad you said that. Oh my God, Feena, so many people just go, let everybody out. And I'm like, you shouldn't just let everybody out. I mean, they should come out. But you should also set our system. We took away X years of their life where they should have been either getting skills or getting educated.
Can you imagine that gap on the resume?
Something.
That's a huge resume gap.
We got to do something. Yes. Yeah. We got to do something, right? And then some of them, to be forward, some of them have become violent in prison because prison can make you very violent.
Yes.
So they weren't violent when they went in, but now they're violent because they've been in for who knows how many years. So now we got to deal with that issue also. That may require some help. We have a lot of issues. Thank you for bringing that up. Some people don't bring it up. That is amazing.
All right. Yeah. So that was my campaign update.
That's awesome. I only wanted to talk about one thing, and it's only for about 1 minute because we already took care in Maryland of abortion access. In fact, Democrats call us a bastion of light for abortion or for reproductive freedom. And Republicans say that we are an abortion tourism destination. So abortion is lawful and available here. Question 1 wants to put it on the Constitution. I'm against putting it in the Constitution anyway because it's horrifying, but it has some language that they call ambiguous. I call it ambiguous. They talk about that some of the language could allow children to receive gender affirming care without parental consent. And everybody knows whether you're pro-choice or pro-life or pro-whatever, everybody knows the government doesn't have wisdom or mercy. The government has rules. And if you have rules that are ambiguous, they will drive a truck through them and take freedom away from we the people. They always do, every time. Do not give them more power. Do not give them an instrument that they can drive legal loopholes through. Vote no on question 1. I have a feeling it's going to pass because this is the Democratic People's Republic of Maryland, and we vote against our own self-interest all the time. But read that bill before you decide to pass question 1, Maryland. That's my campaign update. I'm going to be somewhere in Annapolis talking to a conservative group. I was supposed to also be talking to some alphas. They called me, but I'd already made the plans with the other group, so I couldn't meet. And I'm going to be on the radio in Frederick on Saturday morning. So vote Libertarian. We're going to have a gold rush.
Yeah. Mike, I got a question for you. Question for you. What is it that people are doing that what is it that's wrong with my email that I send out and I send the link in to log in, that every single episode we have an issue where like they can't log in? Like, what am I doing wrong? Because
I have no idea, but
in a non-place and I don't know.
Do you want me to send it to him or her?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm getting on my thing right now, but he didn't send me a question. I'll just resend it to everybody.
Okay. I'm going to cut to a commercial. Actually, you know what? We're talking about prosperity. We are talking about prosperity today, and I wanted to share a couple things for you about prosperity from my Imagine campaign. Imagine small businesses flourished.
I think that'll get them there.
Creating more jobs and opportunities in our community. Imagine if you could start your dream business without excessive regulations holding you back. Imagine if paying rent with cash could still fit in your wallet.
I'm sorry. I see the problem with your email. I'll tell you offline. It's hilarious, though. You'd never see it in a million years.
Okay, thank you.
But I sent you the other link.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Imagine if your hard-earned money went further without heavy taxes diminishing it. Imagine if the free market was truly free, leading to unprecedented prosperity. Here's another part of that is imagine if we lived in a world where your personal choices were respected and not regulated. And I think, did I put this one? Yeah, we go. Imagine if every entrepreneur had the chance to innovate without unnecessary government barriers. And of course, this is my favorite one. The Libertarians, we got the key. We got the key to the tax burden. So
I kind of like the idea of ending the Fed in my dream where I emperor in the Fed, tell them you don't get any of that payback. They're 35 trillion. That's what you get to keep for devaluing our money. 97% since what, 1913, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you've taken us down 97%. Take your ill-gotten gains and go. We're just going to wash away that 35 trillion. And we're going to eliminate the income tax, and we'll see how much, stimulus that'll be for people. Oh my God.
Right. Well, we do have our first guest backstage. Folks, if you're in North Carolina and you're watching, I hope you pay attention to this because we have Bob. I'm going to bring Bob onto the stage. Hello, Bob.
Is it Drach or Drach?
Drach, like the composer, Johann Sebastian.
Drach. Gotcha. Nice. Good name.
My parents almost named me that.
Johann?
Yeah, Johann Sebastian. But
I would have applauded that. That's a good name. Johann Sebastian.
Anyway,
it looks like gorgeous weather out there. Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find a good spot to pick me up, but you have to apologize. I have to apologize for the video. I'm at the State Fair in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're doing some canvassing today, and so I'm pleased to be here and meeting a lot of voters.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna give you the solo, and if you could give me your 2-minute elevator speech and let folks know what you're running for, a little bit about you, what some key issues, and what you hope to bring to the table,
and how they can contact you. Don't forget the last part.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, you may have to remind me the last, but my name is Bob Drach. I'm a certified management accountant, and I'm running for North Carolina State Auditor. So that's kind of funny, huh? An accountant running for auditor. So I have some fun with that because I'm the only accountant that's running for state auditor, right? My two opponents are both lawyers. And this race is a perfect example of how the two established, the leading parties in the nation, let voters down by bringing unqualified or imperfect candidates to the race. And the importance of a third party for bringing qualified, independent candidates that are appropriate for the office. Now, the state auditor, in addition to it's good to be an accountant, it's also good to be independent, because the American Institute of CPAs says that an accountant should be, or an auditor should be, independent in both fact and appearance. Well, we know when a Republican audits a Republican or Democrat audits a Democrat, that appears to be a conflict of interest. So again, being a libertarian, or really being anything other than a major party candidate, is really an advantage. In fact, half the states in the union, the auditor is either nonpartisan or it's an appointed position, a non-elected position. And that's because this independence is so important when you're doing attestation or looking into the effectiveness of a state or federal program. So that's basically my pitch. It's a pretty simple pitch. I'm qualified, I'm independent, my opponents aren't. And as a result of that, I'm polling better than any independent or third party candidate in a statewide election in North Carolina. So to learn more about me and what I'm running on, you can find me at https www.electdrach.org. That's ELECTDRACH.org. So anyway, those are a few reasons to vote for me, and a few of the reasons I'm running, and happy to talk more about that.
Yeah. I got your contact information scrolling across the bottom. So you're in North Carolina, and you're the only actual accountant running for auditor.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? That seems like a duh. You want an accountant to be the auditor, not a lawyer. So you're polling the highest. North Carolina is a really sweet spot for libertarians. You've got a lot of libertarians on the ballot there. And so you're out of Raleigh?
Yeah, so I live on the coast, coastal Carolina. I come from Wilmington, North Carolina. I've been there about 20 years. I've done a bunch of things in my career. I was a consultant with Deloitte. Deloitte is one of the world's biggest accounting, audit, tax consulting firms, and that's additional qualification for the job, obviously.
Right.
For the last 20 years, I've run a manufacturing business in North Carolina. We grew it from one location in Wilmington to 6 locations around the country, and then sold that to a financial buyer, and it's continued to grow and thrive. But it's freed me up to kind of return to my roots of public service. I say roots of public service because when I got out of college, I did a couple things. I registered for the draft. The draft had just been discontinued the year or two before then, and I had to think hard about what my role in the society was. What's my obligation to my community? And if I were drafted, I decided I would do that. I respect people who go into the armed services, but I also said, hey, if I'm going to do public service or national service, I'm going to do that as a Peace Corps volunteer. So after college, I joined the Peace Corps, and I worked for 2 years as a physics teacher in East Africa. But the other thing I did at that time was I registered Libertarian, right? Because Libertarians believe in the non-aggression principle, which is don't hurt other people, or use force only defensively. And that just struck me as a good idea at the time. And so at age 18, I registered Libertarian, and I'm pleased to be running as a Libertarian candidate in this election cycle.
Very good. So go ahead, Mike, you ask.
So you're a libertarian from day one. You're not one of the converts who came over from one party or another. That's kind of rare lately.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're aging out, right? But it is funny because I don't think I was a fully developed libertarian, right? I meet a lot of libertarians who thought really hard about it, read Murray Rothbard, or did political science and said, hey, this is where my values lie. But for me, it was a very simple thing. I was faced with the draft. I was faced with the ideas of national service and what I owe back to my government or my society, and I felt the libertarian approach was the best one at the time.
So, quick question: have you gotten into the state budget at all? Have you started looking at that? What kind of numbers are you working with?
Yeah, so the state budget in North Carolina is $32 billion of, say, state spending. And that's a lot of opportunity for waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, I've worked in much smaller companies where, the money has disappeared. And I've been participated in financial audits and consulting engagements where, the primary focus is cutting down pilferage and opportunities for waste. So we're all people. People are imperfect. It's important to have strong financial controls and to have a state auditor that's both fair and understands the complexity of not only accounting but information systems and organizational processes. And that's what I really bring to bear on this position. It's really great.
So you said pilferage, and I'm familiar with the term in retail. Pilferage can be anything from people, using a whole bunch of paper towels in the bathroom and clogging up the toilet, and to, just too many people like handling something and it gets dirty and messed up. What kind of pilferage would we be seeing in the state audit budget?
Yeah, so I use pilferage as a polite term, right? I mean, It's theft and stealing. But pilferage, I like that term because we all see it. Where a lot of us are familiar with it. If we worked in retail, there's a shoplifting epidemic in the United States. And those human impulses are not limited to, people in need or people who are bored. Powerful people in the state government have the same tendencies. There was an audit recently done by the state auditor's office in North Carolina, and they found $600,000. 3 people in Fayetteville State University, they pilfered $600,000 just using P cards and doing inappropriate purchasing transactions, and flying first class when that was not allowed. Shopping on doing their personal shopping on public cards. And we know that stuff is happening all over. I said a $32 billion budget in state government. There's more than 3 people at Fayetteville State University abusing that system. We all know it. That's the importance of the state auditor's job. That's why it's written into the Constitution of North Carolina and most states. And we all need better financial management in state government. I mean, libertarians are the most government skeptical of everyone. Again, it's a great qualification for auditor.
I think you should be appointed. I don't even think they should hold the election. I would appoint you because every time I hear about millions being stolen, it's from some small school district. The mayor of Hyattsville a little while ago, I'm not going to tell that story, but he took himself out because he was found to have been guilty. I believe it was Hyattsville. But when he was, in charge of the school district, just grabbed
right. One guy. I'll tell you the even wilder story. For those of you in North Carolina, you might know this story. But the last election cycle, the auditor that was elected is named Beth Wood, longtime employee of the auditor's office. She resigned last December. Why did she resign? She had an ethical issue. It was discovered that she was driving a vehicle that was involved in an accident. She fled the scene. It was a hit and run, but there was video evidence. It's alleged there was alcohol involved. She tried to lie about it and cover it up. And when everything finally came to the surface, she was forced to resign, right? So you have the state auditor, the top elected ethical official in the state, with an ethics problem. I mean, it's just incredible. We need to clean the house. We need to bring in a qualified independent person and rebuild the state auditor's office. I mean, otherwise it's just chaos on top of chaos. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So today's topic is prosperity. And I feel like as a state auditor, you could have a direct impact on North Carolinians' prosperity. And apart from, finding places where there's waste, fraud, and abuse, how else can that affect North Carolinians?
Yeah, so the state auditor, the opportunity in the office is really to bully pulpit, right? To be the spokesperson for sound financial management practices throughout state government. And maybe not just throughout state government, but let's look at the federal government. What's the deficit running now? 2 trillion, 3 trillion? I mean, it's
32?
It's
35.
35?
Okay, 35 trillion. Yeah, that's the debt. And every year we're adding to it at the rate of.
The debt. No, you're right. They're spending about 2 trillion more than they're getting in every year. We're going up about 2 trillion a year.
Look, you two may not be accountants, but tell me, is that good financial management?
No.
No.
That's a lot of money.
Everyone sees it. We don't need more lawyers in state government. We need people who are good financial managers and can reset the financial basis of this country. One of my favorite expressions is debt is just future taxation, right? Mm-hmm. So the libertarians have lost the argument about taxation is theft. And people are not even talking about debt is taxation is theft, right? It's just problems compounded upon problems. And to really begin to get sanity back to our state government and to begin to restore libertarian principles in the way we manage ourselves, he's got to start with getting the debt under control. We talk about the auditor's office in North Carolina, but it's really about strong financial management in government, state government and federal government. And I'm not going to use a curse word here, but if you won't elect an accountant to be the auditor, you deserve getting screwed over by the federal government the way you are. Sorry about that.
No, I've been saying it for ages. You deserve the government you tolerate and hiring liars and thieves, yet we act shocked when they steal from us and lie to us. We hire people without character. And I have a couple issues. Everybody has a couple issues. I'm not trying to judge, but we elect liars and thieves and the thoroughly corrupt, and we act shocked. It's stupid.
Yeah. So it's back to my original pitch. I'm qualified to be auditor, and that would be an earthquake in state politics if the electorate selected a qualified candidate.
That would be shocking. And I mean, good luck to you. Holy cow. Someone qualified for the position who believes in liberty and wants it done right and has thought about it from an ethical perspective. God, that sounds like a really rational choice. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, so I appreciate the forum to speak out to the group. And
what are you polling at?
Yeah.
So you would think I'd be polling at something near 100%.
Well, you're not added into the polls. I'd like to, because when I was kept out of the debate, they said, oh, you need 3%. I said, I'm polling 6. They said, not in the poll we used. They don't use your name. You are some third-party candidate random. That's what you're called.
There's a lot of that type of suppression. And it's particularly troubling for the media this election cycle because they can look at me and see that I'm the most qualified. That's not even an issue. In fact, the Daily Tar Heel, a student newspaper at the UNC, put out an article this past weekend just saying, look, this is a clear choice between a qualified candidate or mindless party line voting. And it's the electorate has to wake up and vote for the qualified candidates.
How are you covered in the media? Is that the only thing that covered you? Are you given good coverage or equal coverage as they are?
I'm getting decent coverage. In the Raleigh area, there's a station, WRAL, that did an article about, again, that I'm the most qualified, but the attention is going to the other two candidates. And then the News and Observer, I'm not sure who they're going to end up endorsing. I met with their editorial board. They were very aggressive talking to me. They weren't talking about qualifications at all. they were trying to find other things that I was saying that would disqualify me. So they're working hard to find an angle to say, don't ignore this qualified guy. Look at the others.
Yeah, I'm sure as a state auditor, you got a lot to say about something like abortion. I bet that was one of their questions. Like,
yeah, my routine response on most policy issues is that I don't take a policy stance because the auditor needs to be unbiased, right? I've got one of my competitors. He's anti-DEI. Well, guess what? He's going to audit the DEI programs. He's going to find that there's a lot of inappropriate stuff going on, and it's not going to be credible because before the election, he says, that's what I'm going to do, right?
Yeah. So they already plan on doing lawfare. See, and that's using government to get your way.
Yeah. Or in this case, it'd be like a counting fair, but same thing.
Wow. So you're out there, you're at the North Carolina State Fair. And so how much money have you raised in your campaign? Has that been good? Has it been a successful financial campaign?
Yeah, well, I'm about $25,000 into the campaign. And
that's amazing.
It's okay. I didn't fundraise extremely aggressively because we know the challenge of being a third-party candidate, and I wanted to keep my dollars focused. But the Democrat's going to spend between $300,000 and $400,000. The Republican will be somewhere in the $2 million range, including the primary. So
wow.
It's heavy odds. I've talked to some libertarians. They said, "Wow, it's tough for a libertarian to get elected." And they said, "No, give me $5 million. I'll get one elected." Right?
Right.
But
just give me $5 million first.
I hate that it costs $5 million. I mean, we shouldn't need to be rich or bought by special interests or big donors. We should be able to get our voice out there, and the media is complicit in silencing us, and those polling organizations are bought or owned by one side or the other. It's signs of an oligarchy, man. It's not a free and fair election. They don't give you informed consent. It's very aggressive.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's the encouraging thing about my campaign. Even at $25,000, I'm going to get somewhere between 5 and 10% of the vote. Yeah. Well, that's a tremendous, dollar per vote ratio. And it also, by being the most votes by statewide independent or third-party candidate, it starts to move the window toward, hey, independents can be competitive. Hey, you invest in independents in future races, and we get more of that unaffiliated vote, which, by the way, in North Carolina, the unaffiliated vote is 40%. It's the largest voting bloc in North Carolina. So we are well on the way, and my campaign is going to set the tone for allowing third-party libertarian and mostly independent voters to vote with their convictions, and it'll create opportunities not only in this election cycle but in future cycles.
No, but you're one of these races that big LP National should have been looking at, because this is a very winnable race if you get some money and push behind you. The state party should have picked you up on their shoulders and started screaming. And the national party should too. There's no way in the world. This is why libertarians run. You are why libertarians run. You are qualified and capable and really good at your job. So, dude, I applaud you for doing it. I think you're going to get that 40% and get to 51 with your poll in at 11. I think you got it.
Well, good. Certainly anyone that looks into it automatically says, oh, yeah, I got to vote for that guy. So it'll be good. And I appreciate all the help and support I've gotten. And I welcome folks that still want to support me at this late date. We're still doing voter outreach. We're running through the tape at the finish line, and see what impact we can have.
That's awesome.
I gotta say, for a statewide race, $25,000. There's no better, this is how government should be run. Kind of like example of how you expect your politicians, especially an auditor, to run their job. I'm going to take $25,000 and I'm going to make a mountain out of this molehill. I'm going to do the most with your money. And that's the kind of politicians you want and you can expect from the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So what's been your favorite thing that's happened during this campaign so far? Has there been anything that's been that's just kind of like, that was the moment. And you're like, this is what it's for. This is what it's worth it because of this. Have you had one of those moments yet?
I've had a couple of those moments. A lot of my fundraising was done by people I've known in the past who, like we did an event up in Raleigh. This friend of mine gathered 20 voters who all came to the event and pitched in. And so that type of realizing the impact that I can have across the state, really big. Another thing that's a little bit counterintuitive to me, but I learned how important government is to so many of the voters. All of them appreciate the libertarian perspective. They're a little bit fearful because they depend on the government for maybe Social Security, for educating their children. People with kids with disabilities depend on government services. And a lot of people just can't imagine a world where non-government actors and individual citizens provide, services better and more efficiently than the government does. So having those types of discussions, understanding other people's perspective a little bit, and then people who move a little bit in our direction, like the recent flooding in Western North Carolina. I was talking to a group that was really pro-government services, and we brought up that topic, and they're like, "Oh, the churches are doing a much better job than FEMA." And
that's right. That's right.
You don't have to rub that in. You just, to get them to recognize that and to articulate that, that's the libertarian message. That's a win right there.
Team Rubicon. Team Rubicon, the gray shirts. They go out, a bunch of old veterans. They go out and they do work. I know a bunch of folks just decided to put crates of food in. They were talking about helicopters flying in, private helicopters.
People want to help. People want to do good. And
by the way, TEMA is a thing, the Tennessee Emergency Management, and I'm betting Maryland has one too. Probably Florida, probably North Carolina, South. Every state has those things, and that's what the National Guard's for too. Defend the guard. Hashtag.
Right. So again, going back to that disaster, we can say there's maybe a role for FEMA. There may be some things the government can do better, but a lot of things are better done by the people close to the situation, by private philanthropy and person-to-person contact.
Yeah,
we can close FEMA and be okay, I think.
So Bob, I think I may have said it in my email, one of my first emails to you to get you on the show, but I was actually raised in North Carolina. I was born in Florida. Yeah. I was raised in North Carolina. So I'm a product of the public school system. And even more so, I'm a product of the free lunch program that they have out there, which I think I know that libertarians would like to say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is. And it's through charity. And in some cases, it can be through the state for children. And I think if we're in such a prosperous nation, back to prosperity, we should be able to afford giving the children a lunch. One meal a day isn't, that's not being excessive. That's not waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think that what you're saying is, you see a lot of people that are dependent on that. And that's true, especially like rural North Carolina, up in the mountains. That's a lot of folks don't realize that's some of the poorest people in America is the folks in the Appalachian Mountain region. And you're right, they do depend on things like free lunch and home and school, but a lot of folks are now kind of going towards homeschool. And I do usually caveat that conversation with, school lunch is only during school season. And it was always the churches. It was always the churches that helped us in the summer. It was always the churches that got us Christmas presents. It was the churches that made sure we had a good Thanksgiving. And out there right now in North Carolina and Western North Carolina, it's the churches, like you said, that are leading, spearheading the efforts to clean up and get people back on their feet. And North Carolina is just a special place that I'm always going to have a very big part of my heart for, because I did grow up there and I know so many people out there still. And I hope that if you're watching this and you're in North Carolina, you do take a look at all your candidates and vote for the best, most qualified candidates like Bob Drach here. Or I'm going to say it. Drach. Drach.
Bob
Both are
Drach.
fine.
PG County, the school district, actually, when COVID hit, they still provided at least lunches, maybe breakfast and lunch, so you could drive through and get it. And I noticed a lot of folks driving around getting food all day, and I thought that was a wonderful thing to be able to feed folks. My pushback is I'm wondering how much they spent, how good the food was, and if private industry could have done it cheaper. If the government was going to pay for it anyway, then could they have done better giving it to private organizations that weren't trying to maximize? You know what I mean? Just
That's a
government's the
rhetorical
worst way to
question.
do stuff.
Yeah,
Government's the worst way. Yeah. I got I always show my little slide. Other people's money.
Right, right. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, other people's money. It's easy to be inefficient and spend a lot of it. I don't dig government providing a lot of services, and we give away a lot of food at the church I attend. So, I mean, a lot of food.
You know, we talk in libertarian terms. We talk about anarchist or minarchist or other flavors. You know, I tend to be a minarchist. I think there may be a social safety net role for government. You know, if we're talking about 5% of instead of 25%, it's almost not a discussion worth having. Like I said, directionally, we're so far out of whack that there's just it's huge opportunity to get the government back to the minimum level of services that maybe they can do better, and let the private sector and let people, people to people organizations take care of each other.
There you go.
Yeah. So, like, one of the differences between, say, the state funded, we're on food. We're on food. We all agree that that's not waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Food. Okay. So
yeah, we don't want to take food from babies. That's not where we're going.
No. So sometimes the government's good to give you food, but sometimes they're not. And they put these requirements and restrictions on getting their help that put you in a situation that you're going to keep coming, and it's going to hamper you. It's going to put limits on your own prosperity to get out of that, because you're afraid if you make even just $1 more an hour that you're not going to get food stamps anymore. And I think that for us to be in a prosperous world, prosperous country, and we already subsidize the farming industry so much, it should be available for everyone. And there shouldn't be, restrictions on, getting out of it, because, one more dollar an hour in this economy is not going to get you in a different bracket. It's not going to get you in a different, it's going to let you buy like an extra gallon of milk,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that was the point with the immigrants too. They come in and they're not allowed to ply a trade. They're not allowed to get jobs and start contributing. They have to take these handouts, which are a subsistence living wage. So it goes directly to landlords and big markets and things like that. It doesn't sit there with the people. They can't amass wealth or help themselves.
Yeah, the term we often apply to that is moral hazard, right? You put people in a position where they no longer have agency. They're no longer responsible for their own prosperity. And there's a lot of study done on moral hazard and behavioral economics. And I think it's generally accepted that if you give people opportunities, they can create prosperity. And if you put limitations on people, they'll not perform the way that to their full potential. And that's how we get these ideas that everyone understands into the fabric of government and into the way we manage our programs. That's the challenge, and that's why libertarian ideas are so important for us now.
They really are, and people need to have them, but people seem to want big daddy government to take care of them. And I'm like, no, man, all they're going to do is take more and you're going to get less. That's all they've ever done. That's it.
Yeah. Well, Bob, I'm going to give you the solo spotlight again. And I want to do something special because you're at the fair. If you could give us a nice 360, because I want to see that Ferris wheel. I caught a little glimpse of it. Give us a 360 of where you're at.
And Ferris wheel back there.
Yeah.
That's the best view. The parking lot's in the other direction, but You can kind of see there's people walking around. There's a firehouse, something behind me. So here, I'll give you one more view of the people at the fair.
Yay!
And that's the exhibition building behind me. That's the Libertarian Party of North Carolina has a booth in the exhibition building, and that's where I'll be for the next couple hours as well.
That's awesome.
Awesome. I love North Carolina's state party. My favorite newsletter comes out of North Carolina. Rob Yates does a lot of work on that.
Yeah, thanks for following, Rob. That's great.
Yeah, it's a great newsletter, and I'm hoping that Florida can kind of come around and get up on a newsletter too, because I think it's important that folks across the state know what's going on in our party. You know, we need to know who our candidates are. We should know who's meeting, you know, where they're meeting, because I may have friends that can attend that are in a different area than I am, you know, and you can just like forward that email.
Yeah, the connectivity is so important. So we thank Rob for his efforts there. We thank we have like 44 candidates running for offices across the state, and we have a good strong base here in North Carolina. So think about
44?
it. 44 candidates.
You guys probably beat Indiana. I mean, Indiana's got a full ticket. Like they've got a full ticket, I think. And North Carolina.
Yeah, a lot of those candidates are for state house representative. We have the way the state is organized. There are 100 different counties, so it creates opportunities.
Yeah, it does. Awesome. I'm so proud of North Carolina. I am very proud of what's going on in North Carolina, and I'm so happy to have another North Carolina candidate come on. You know, this right now, I wanted to make sure I got North Carolina in again towards the end, and I'm glad I'm having you on. And I'm going to give you the solo spotlight one more time and just give us the 2-minute elevator speech one more time. Yes, Mike.
No. And I was going to tell them at the end, and make sure you remind them that all BS aside, you're the only one qualified for the job. I mean, that's what we're not understanding. You're the only accountant for an auditor position.
Yeah.
That's my 2-minute speech, is to say that over and over again for 2 minutes. It's really crazy. But again, I think it exemplifies, you can look up and down the ballot, and you don't always get the best choices from the two major parties. And that's why the Libertarian Party is critically important. I tell people Chase Oliver at this point, he's going to get the third largest vote total for president. He's on the ballot in 47 states. The Libertarians have consistently put forth principal candidates for positions up and down the ballot. And the state auditor race, you can even look at the state governor race in North Carolina, where I think our gubernatorial candidate is the only one that's scandal-free. I mean, it's just great that the Libertarian Party is in there fighting the fight, representing independent voters. And then in my race specifically, we need an accountant. I'm a certified management accountant. I've worked for one of the big accounting firms in Deloitte. I've got my a business degree, a Master of Business from Stanford University. I've worked in private industry for over 20 years. I just can bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the state governor, to the state auditor job. I'd enjoy doing the work. I'll have a great time. We can rebuild the reputation of that office, the effectiveness of it, set the tone for good financial management across state government, and use that as a springboard and to set the tone for what we need to do nationally to get the debt under control, reduce taxes, reduce the size of the federal government to the things it can do best, and put the power back in the hands of the people.
Did you say Stanford MBA?
Yeah.
You didn't say Stanford, a little North Carolina college. You said Stanford.
Yeah, it's a pretty well-known school. They've got a pretty good alumni base and a reputation for
Condoleezza Rice is taught at Stanford, didn't she? Didn't she go to Stanford too? Condoleezza, I'm sorry, that was an old Dave Chappelle joke.
Okay.
God, you got an accountant and a Stanford MBA, and it's a question between a couple lawyers who have, just like she's got an opponent who's Skeletor. I mean, I'm sorry, Rick Scott did what? Isn't he Wasn't he in jail for something, or didn't he steal money and get caught?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey, how are these choices? I don't get it. I applaud you for running, and I hope that people see the truth and that they come out in droves and vote Bob Drach. Wow.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. Thanks for this forum and for helping me get the word out. I appreciate you guys so much.
No, thank you for running, and thank you for sharing. That's
Tell
awesome.
everybody I said hey, and you know what? If you get over there and you got a second, and we're still going live in like next hour, pop on, say hey with the other candidates. I'd love to see Mike Ross and Rob Yates and Susan Hogarth and all the folks over there in North Carolina just to wave in and say hey. That would be awesome.
Yeah. They'll be around over the weekend, but not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to cut to a commercial, and then we're going to have our presidential campaign update. And thank you, Bob. Thank you for coming on, and stay strong in North Carolina. North Carolina voters, you have a great candidate for North Carolina Auditor. If you have a couple extra dollars, please send it his way. His website is Drach.org. That's ELECTDRACH.org. He's also on Twitter as Elect Drach. All right.
Gold rush. Vote Libertarian.
In a world where tyranny spreads like a virus, a movement to restore your liberty grows. In Chase Oliver's America, you can say goodbye to high inflation, lockdowns and mandates, and endless wars. The middle class grows stronger when they get to keep their whole paycheck.
More and more people are waking up to the fact that the two-party system is really a one-party system in this country. Both of them have been driving up inflation. Both of them run debts and deficits every single year that causes our Treasury to print trillions of dollars.
Now, the 2024 presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party is Chase Oliver. He could make a difference.
We've tried to work within the system. We've tried to compromise. It's time to dare to be different. It's time to build a competitive third party. Stand up and say no more and take our freedom back.
I'm Chase Oliver, a candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Never go to the negotiation table and ask for what you're willing to walk away with. That's why we need libertarians who will play hardball and come from the corner of taxation is theft when it comes to your money. Do it for yourself. Do it for your future. Do it for America. I'm Feena Bonoan, and I approve this message.
Okay, I'm back. I'm not sure. I think Bob's frozen, but I think he went back into the
Yeah, he went back into the exhibition hall.
Yeah.
You want me to kick him from the studio?
No. We'll keep him here as long as he's here. He can get out. But we'll do another. Well, he's gone. He's gone now. Mike, which commercial of yours would you like to play till we get?
Oh my God, I hate the sound of my own voice, dude. Play those when I'm not on. Hey, my name is Mike Scott. I'm the Libertarian Party nominee for Senate for the great state of Maryland. And I have a simple question for you. How much is $2 million? Seriously, real talk. When I was a young man, $2 million was all the money in the world. It would have been life-changing. Hell, even now, $2 million would be life-changing. That is a significant amount of money to most Americans. When I was in the military, $2 million took on a little bit different, approach. I had $100 million budgets. I had over $1 billion one budget, and I helped build the president's budget, at least the Air Force's portion. So $2 million is a rounding error. Like seriously, $2 million was a rounding error. So it's anywhere from insignificant pocket lint to, oh my God, a universal remote control for the world. You know what I'm saying? $2 million is also about what Angela Alsobrook raised in the first 3 months of 2024. Yeah, January, February, March. She raised about $2.1 million, raising her total war chest to little north of $7 million. She's in third place. Larry Hogan Lockdown Larry just out fundraised her. And David Trone, I think, is in first place. I can't even watch YouTube without seeing that cat's videos. He's in first place. And he's put in $18 million of his own money. And I know folks are going to say, oh my God, money is how we figure out who supports you. No, dude. Money means you're either bought and owe a bunch of favors, or you're rich and you're after power for some reason. I'm neither bought nor rich. What I want is smaller government, less taxes, and freedom for America.
This is the most important election to vote third party. This is our chance, Florida, to give America someone you can trust in the United States Senate. Let's give the U.S. Senate a libertarian from Florida with love. I'm Feena Bonoan, and I approve this message.
Montani Semper Liberi. Words that ring true in the hearts of every West Virginian. Mountaineers are always free. Free to live, free to be whoever they want to be. Bureaucrats shouldn't tell us how to live our lives, to tax us and waste our money. This November, West Virginia has a better choice for governor. I am Erica Kalenich, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, I'm going to play a couple more commercials because we're waiting for it. It's going to be Jim Turney coming on today for the Chase Oliver update, and I hope that he shows up. But
how is this Jim person? I don't know her.
I said Jim.
Jim. Oh, how is this Jim person? I don't know him.
He's an elected libertarian out in Florida and a veteran.
Then yeah, he sounds good already.
Sounds good, but let's play some more commercials till he gets here.
What you do with your body should be none of the government's business. Your body is your body. Your property is your property. Your life is your life. Vote Libertarian. My friend Chase Oliver is standing for president, and I'm out here running for vice president on the Libertarian Party ticket because we believe that your decisions should be your own. Go for a run if you want. Or not.
A record number of Americans favor a new political party.
57% of Americans still believe a third major political party is necessary.
Voting third party is a wasted vote? Bullshit. This is the establishment's most successful lie in modern politics. America is the only major country with free elections to only have two viable options. Not anymore. The Libertarian Party is the fastest growing political party in America and will be on the ballot in all 50 states. And when we talk about winning, we don't just mean winning the White House. There's all kinds of wins you can have in your state if you vote Libertarian today. We can win ballot access that makes it easier for future candidates to run for office. We can win major party status that gives us more attention from the major media.
I think it's a great day to be a Libertarian.
And we can have Libertarians getting elected all over the country in local races. Whenever Libertarian candidates are able to break through the mainstream media blackout, our support grows. In my televised debate with Senator Raphael Warnock, I was able to reach out to millions of voters. Many of them realized that they were Libertarian all along and just didn't know it.
Why is that the radical idea and not the rational idea? If you live in a solid blue or a solid red state, voting for Trump or Biden is a wasted vote, and it won't change the outcome. Voting Libertarian is the only way to make your vote truly count. Currently, all the two major parties have to do is be slightly less evil than the other side to win. Let's make the statement that we will accept no evil. When someone tells you you're wasting your vote, recognize that they don't care about you. It's a selfish statement. They are saying that your beliefs aren't worth being represented, that you should silence your voice so theirs can be louder. Vote your conscience, not someone else's politics. Breaking up the duopoly is the only chance for the real radical change needed to give the power back to you, the people. Voting for Chase Oliver for president will contribute to bringing more choices into our political system. A successful third party forces the two old parties to think about the issues Americans truly care about. Keep them honest. Show them they must earn your vote. Change begins at the grassroots. I'm Chase Oliver, a candidate for president, and I approve this message.
I'm Feena Bonoan, and I approve this message. Imagine if we had the same enthusiasm for building rockets to go to outer space as we do
for rockets with warheads to go to foreign countries. From the moment we knew of our sun's expiration date, our star, we had a moral obligation to our future generations.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of SpaceX Dragon, hoisting harmony to the heavens and opening new gateways for international science.
To work together and find a way to escape this peril. It's bigger than one person. It's bigger than a generation. From the moment we knew of our sun's expiration date, our star, we had a moral obligation to our future generations to work together and find a way to escape this peril. This is bigger than one person. It's bigger than one generation. But if we all do what we can, when we can, together, we can save the future of
All right, we got Jim Turney here.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Mike, Feena, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Welcome to Campaign Update.
Thank you. My first visit. Well, I've been a guest as a viewer, but this is the first time on camera, and I'm sitting in my front yard in Altamont Springs, Florida.
It looks like great weather.
Oh, it's fantastic today. Normally, I'd be with a towel wiping the sweat off at this hour for the last 6 or 8 months. But today we're having a very nice, reasonable day. Beautiful sky and great day for campaigning. So I've been out campaigning, as you can see, and got my front yard decorated with all of my favorite voting and suggestions. Hopefully, having an influence here.
Yes, very good. So what's going on in the Chase Oliver and Mike Tremack campaign this week?
Well, like I said, voting has started here in Florida yesterday. So I've been out already at the polling places for early voting. But 1 week ago today, early voting started in Georgia. So 1 week ago today, Chase Oliver had gone down to the polls in his community and cast his vote right when they opened the polls a week ago today. And he got an interview that day at the polling place and also with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution later in the day. So he started off at home voting and getting media. And then we sent him off to El Paso, Texas to do some schmoozing with the Libertarians there, but especially to campaign with Ryan Woodcraft, who's running for office, great candidate in El Paso. And
there he is right there.
Hey, all right. There you go. Got a good photo of that. And a couple other good candidates there too. But it was mostly campaigning with Ryan on that visit. And then he went to town hall in El Paso, and that went well. Do you have a photograph of that? I'm not sure. Maybe.
Okay. Maybe. No, this is Phoenix Pride. No.
Okay. Yeah, he went to from El Paso to Phoenix and was in the very large Pride Festival there in Phoenix the next day, and for the weekend. It's a long one. It's a 2-day festival, and he was there for parts of both days. And just like a good candidate anywhere in America, you spend a lot of your time calling people to either ask for their support or thank them for their support. And Chase has been doing a lot of that in the last week. And so has Mike. Mike actually started off the week a week ago today. He was in Tampa, Florida. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but there's a lot of trash on my, detritus from limbs down and stuff like that because the hurricane came through here too, but we didn't get it near as bad as the coast. And so he was down in the Tampa Bay area helping people clean up last week ago, Monday and Tuesday. And,
yeah, I saw the video with him and David Moskrip, and that was a great video. And I tried to get it to play here, but I can't get a copy of it. And I would love to have a copy of it, but now it's kind of it's getting a little stale.
Yeah, getting that way. Sorry, I actually haven't seen that video myself, so I need to check that out. I should find that one and ask David for that. But I did ask them to make video and photos and get them posted. So, but yeah, we're still in cleanup mode here in Florida, pretty much everywhere where the hurricane came through. And my city is usually the first to get cleaned up, but still, they haven't gotten to my street yet. So that gives you an idea how much mess there is caused by these hurricanes. We didn't get a lot of rain this time. We got a lot of wind, and so we lost a lot of limbs.
Did you guys have tornadoes where you were?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Did you have the tornadoes where you were?
Not here exactly, but the next county over, Volusia County and Brevard County got some tornadoes. So we were fortunate. We got a lot of wind, so that usually means tornadoes, but we didn't get hit here. So we just have a lot of limbs down, and so on my street here, you can't see it, but in behind the camera, there's still piles of limbs and leaves from the hurricane. And so Mike helped out a lot down in the Tampa Bay area, and then he came up through here briefly and saying hi to my
Mike.
man.
Mike and his wife, what's her Nancy?
Nancy, yeah. She was not on this trip. He went to Mississippi, and but I don't know if that's old news. That was the week before. He went to Mississippi for a couple of days. They did some parades there, got good media. They have a big billboard for Chase and Mike in Mississippi that the local Libertarian Party paid for. That would be a good image for you to have to throw up. And so he left. When he came from there, he drove there from Virginia, drove down to Florida here to help with cleanup, and he came through my city here. We had a nice meeting, and then he drove up for the weekend to be at the Libertarian Party of Virginia's 50th anniversary, which I wish I could have been there for, but they celebrated that last Saturday.
I feel like I've got that picture.
Yeah. I'm one of the founders of the Libertarian Party of Virginia back in the 1970s. So I particularly wish I could have been there, but maybe we'll celebrate again when I'm not in the business of trying to get votes. We're in the heat of the campaign season, so it's kind of hard for me to leave town.
So what's going on next week or this week coming up for the Chase Oliver campaign?
Chase is going, you were just talking with Bob Drach, good candidate. By the way, he and I have a lot of overlap in our personal history that I didn't know about until a few minutes ago when he was on your podcast. But the North Carolina State Fair, where he was joining you from, is where both Mike and Chase are going to be during this coming week.
Awesome.
So North Carolina is getting a lot of love from Libertarian candidates at the State Fair, it seems. So Mike is also going to be down in Virginia Beach working with a candidate there whose name I can't pronounce. I'm sorry to say, especially if I don't have it in front of me, and I don't right now. And also working on a project there that they're putting together something with which is still a bit of a work in progress, on a demonstrating against a police problem they had there, where a person who was arrested for trespassing ended up dying in custody. So under suspicious circumstances. I'll just leave it at that for now because I don't know all the details of that. And they're going to be trying to shed light on that and draw attention to it. So we'll have more information on that soon, but it's still, that's something that just is in development. And so Mike is going to go down for that, and then going down to North Carolina for the state fair.
Nice. Are you going to be in Dallas?
Good question. I am a sitting city commissioner here in Altamont Springs. I'm serving my 4th term, I'm honored to say. And yeah, people know I'm a libertarian, by the way.
That is awesome. Thank you.
Yay. It's really an honor to serve. I live in a great city, and there's a candidate who I really like who is running against an incumbent here, and I'd love for him to be sitting on the dais with me in future city commission meetings. His name is Eric Soto. So he's not a libertarian, but we're bringing him over. He's most of the way there, but he hasn't re-registered yet. He's this is of course a nonpartisan election. His sign is there. You can see it over my shoulder, I think. And so I am kind of torn between wanting to celebrate with Chase and the whole team, the presidential campaign team, as well as staying here to campaign for this guy. So that's a decision yet to be made. I'm trying to sort out how that's going to work. So, but thanks for the question. I feel like a lot of pressure to go to Dallas, and a lot of pressure to stay here and go for votes. So I am out campaigning for Chase and Mike and Eric, the local candidate, and you too, Feena. I need a sign to put in my front yard for you. It's not in my collection, as you see over my shoulder here.
Well, all the times I've seen you, you didn't ask for one. I would have given you one.
I should have grabbed one. Yes, I should have grabbed one when I had a chance.
Yeah. I'm anticipating this week to go and drop off a few more signs. I don't have many more left, Jim. I don't know if you guys know this, but I didn't buy a single sign this campaign. Not one. I used them all from the ones I had when I ran in Hawaii. And, that's what you can expect from a libertarian candidate, is making the most out of all the funds that we get, and
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you should do it. By the way, I'm not a strong believer in signs, especially for bigger campaigns like Congress and Senate and President. But for local, they're more effective. And so I don't want to take one of your few is what was my thinking because I figured it doesn't really have much of it, especially on my street here. This is a little cul-de-sac type street. So these signs are more for my neighbors, and I grab them out of the yard so I don't waste them. I grab some of them out when I go out.
What I've asked folks is if they take a sign to put it somewhere that's very highly visible at an intersection near their house, that they can, that they're going to drive by frequently, maybe every time they go to the grocery store or something, like somewhere. So that way they can see it and make sure it's still there, make sure it's not damaged or missing. Just so you got to keep tabs.
Even better yet, hold it. Go to that intersection and take a half hour. Don't go out of your way. Go to a busy intersection that you drive by anyway every day or occasionally or whatever, and just get out and spend 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hey, even more if you got it, and hold up that sign, because it makes a huge difference if a person is holding the sign than if it's just, planted, next to the right of way. And so that's what these signs are, not very valuable sitting here in my yard, but of course I put them up for this podcast, but I take them out because I don't want to waste signs. I pull them out, and maybe not every one, because I got about 4 or 5 there now. I'll pull out the Chase sign and maybe the Eric sign, and I'll take them out and I'll wave them and stand there with them at the polling place. And that's much more effective than putting them in the ground anywhere, any sign. So encourage your folks to, if they take a sign, promise to stand out somewhere and hold it. Even if they don't wave it, just standing there holding it will attract attention. And and the other rule for political signs, which all of these don't follow, is it has to communicate at a glance. Those are the magic words, at a glance. signs are not effective. People are not going to pull over, stop, and go over and read it, the fine print. You know, they're going to, they have to see it in that 1 second. They glance over and see, what's that guy standing there holding? Oh, he's for Chase Oliver for president, the Libertarian candidate. So that's the way it works. You just have to make it so they can glance at it and get it.
Yep. The biggest words on there should be your name. Second biggest word should be your office.
That's
Third
right.
biggest, if you put it on there, is your party.
Exactly. Bravo. And with a high contrast. So not only large, but a high contrast to whatever other colors and designs or whatever you're using. And yeah, that really works. I was with Nathan Schlusher last night. I went over to the Brevard County LP, and we talked about the signage there. So that made me think of it. And I endorsed him for his election. And wow, is he doing a great job. It looks like he has actually a chance to win his county commission seat because of the, fortunate for him, the way the Republican and Democratic Party candidates are not exciting. Their parties are divided. So it's giving him a chance. Well, hopefully he'll do well there. And he changed his signs after I pointed this stuff out back. This was months ago, back in the spring, and so he's got effective signs now. And they were out waving them yesterday because, of course, like I said, early voting started here in Florida yesterday. So Feena, I hope you do well. And you've already got my vote, and I'll give you a formal endorsement if you like to have that. If you think it's in,
I'll take all the endorsements I can get.
All right,
let's go.
I'll do that.
All right. Thank you for coming on for Campaign Update and give us an update on the Chase Oliver campaign. Thank you for all that you're doing out in Florida. And
thank you for being a sitting libertarian in a position. And, you know, staying your libertarian so that we push that window further to the right.
It's what I'm here all about. So, Mike, by the way, you're doing a great job, too. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Come up and vote
I'm
here,
impressed
too.
with your campaign. It was great to meet you when we were there at the convention in May. I enjoyed that. So, look forward to seeing you again.
All right,
you see me, whether you guys like it or not. I'm coming all down to Florida to have barbecue with you. And then we're going to run again because, you know, although I'm probably going to win this one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all the best
right.
to you all. I'll stay around and listen in to your future guest, and always enjoy your
another
program.
U.S. Senate candidate.
Mike.
Yeah.
All the best.
All right. See you. All right. I want to give you guys an proper introduction to our next candidate. Our next candidate is the U.S. Senate candidate from Montana, Sid Daoud. I hope I'm saying this right. I'm gonna like chop these campaign updates up later, and it's gonna be it's gonna be purely all the times that we missaid people's names.
No, I mean, give it 3 intros. Call them Sid Dude, Sid Daoud, Sid Daoud. Give like 3 or 4, and then we'll just run the one that's good.
I think he says it correctly in the commercial. Let me play his commercial, and then we're going to have Sid on, okay?
Only the Federal Reserve can inflate the currency, creating new money and credit out of thin air.
Price inflation is caused by an increase in the money supply. It means the Federal Reserve has printed more money and given it to Congress and their friends. It also means that the value of your money decreases, which leads to the cost of living going up. John Tester backs the Federal Reserve and its policies. Tim Sheehy thinks Biden and Tester are the ones to blame for inflation. They're both wrong. It is the Federal Reserve that destroys the value of your money. They must be stopped. I am the only candidate willing to do what it takes to rein in inflation. I plan to end the Federal Reserve. A vote for me is a vote to keep your money in your pocket, period. Vote Sid Daoud for U.S. Senate. My name is Sid Daoud, and I approve this message.
Welcome, Sid.
So Daoud was the right answer. Daoud.
Well, you actually stumbled across the actual way to say it. It's Daoud, technically, but that's too hard for a lot of people. So Daoud, I've been going by that since grade school. So anyway,
Daoud. Folks, I spent too much time in Hawaii and in other countries where you look at the face value of the letters and you go with it. So if I wasn't raised with English, I would be saying I'm gonna cut my salmon with my knife.
Well, it's you can sound it out. It's a lot of vowels, but they're in order. So
yes, they are alphabetical order.
Yep.
Sid, I'm going to give you the solo spotlight. If you want to give us your 2-minute elevator speech and what you're running for and some of the issues that affect Montana. By the way, awesome commercial. So go.
Thank you very much. My name is Sid Daoud. I'm your U.S. Senate candidate for Montana. Libertarian candidate, I should say. I was born and raised in Great Falls, Montana. I'm a 4th-generation Montanan on my mom's side, and I'm the son of an Armenian immigrant on my father's. I spent about 12 and a half years in the U.S. Army as a non-commissioned officer, initially as a fire support specialist, which in the movies is called a forward observer, and then in the medical field. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 34 years. I have 3 children with her, and they're all just amazing human beings, which I'm very proud of. I am a city councilman here in Kalispell, Montana, serving my 2nd term, and which is kind of funny because it gives me more government experience than one of my opponents, which is kind of crazy. And I'm running to bring some sanity back to Congress. Our debt and inflation are out of control. Our foreign policy is erratic and dangerous, and it gives little thought to the cost, both monetary and human. So those things have been what's resonated the best when I go talk to the public. And they're the things that I'm running on. It's basically all economic when you tie it back to the real costs of Americans. And I'm sick of seeing our money being sent out of the country. Number one. Number two, Congress has not passed a budget on time since 1996, and that needs to stop. That is something we have to do. They're required by law, but they skip past it every year. And as you can see, this year is no exception.
I thought they got one accidentally in like 2006 or something, or 2009.
It wasn't a full budget, and it wasn't on time. So yeah,
there you go. Because I was trying to give them credit for one.
I'd like to ask both of you that question at the time. So I find myself in what I call the rational middle right now. And I never thought I would be there. I always thought of myself as some kind of crazy activist out on the fringe. But I find that I'm sitting in a big pool of voters in kind of the middle of all the spectrums that have been left behind by the 2 big parties. What's your experience there?
I'm going to show you that because that's the actual political spectrum. I'm over there near the Constitution. And thank you for your service, by the way. I did 20 plus years in the Air Force. So the fact that you're a veteran isn't strange. Feena, you did what, 14 or I forgot how many 10. You did. 10 in the Navy. So there's a lot of veterans who people think we're feds, but we actually go through and we get taught how to think. And we come to realize the truth that the government's too big, too powerful, and doesn't represent we the people. And 2/3 of the people want. I mean, I did on iVoter Guide. I was a moderate. I was listed directly in the middle as a moderate. I am fiscally conservative, and I'm socially. I got my own business I'm taking care of. I can't worry about your sins, So go do your thing. Just don't hurt other people. And that's the moderate position. And 2/3 of America agrees with me. They just refuse to vote that way.
Yeah, I think you find we've all found that there's nobody that would be more anti-war and more let's fix our foreign policy than a veteran.
Yeah. As far as like moderation, I don't think it's a radical idea that we would rather have clean drinking water here in America than to go bomb foreign countries. I don't think that's a radical idea. I think that's a very rational idea. It's kind of like I said it last week on the show. It's basic airplane safety things. You got to fix your own mask before you can go help somebody else with theirs. And right now we have a lot of issues in our infrastructure that we should be addressing before we go send, warheads over to other countries. We need to fix what we have going on here. And we're all veterans, and we know that there are things that we could be using our military to fix our infrastructure in the same ways that we will deploy our military to go fix another country's infrastructure. So I don't think it's a radical. I think we are the new middle, the middle that is more rational, the rational side that says, let's fix ourselves before we go outside. And I know that, everybody wants a hero in the world. We all want heroes, and we've got to start at home first. And
we're not heroes across the world. We project ourselves as that. We call ourselves America's police or the world's police, but we're not a police force. We are a global destabilizing force bent on war and trading and dealing in arms. And we have 750 bases in 80 countries and a deployed presence in maybe twice that. And I keep saying it over and over again, we borrow minimum $70,000 per second to support all of that. And it's unsustainable. So you're right. They're all economic policies.
But they're not satisfied with that, right? They're rattling the saber for Iran, China, and Russia. Which,
the only difference,
if that happens, we will have to implement the draft. We're too stretched thin right now.
Well, everybody's wondering about all the immigrants they're letting in, and I try to tell them that's simple economics. 2 out of 3 youth can't qualify for military service, and we're going to double elderly poverty in the next, they say 9 years when the trust fund folds, but they've been calling it 9 years for the past 3 years. I think we're closer to about 5. And they're going to double elderly poverty, and they need this new tax base coming in and working. And they need new people that they can send off to their chop factory as cannon fodder. They need those new immigrants coming in the melting pot.
And I think we do a disservice when we call them war hawks. That's too nice and noble of a name. These are war pigs, just like
War Pigs.
Black Sabbath song, right?
War Pigs.
So Sid, what's your thoughts and feelings on the filibuster since we're in the Senate?
I actually think that it is an effective tool and it needs to be continued. I understand why a lot of the newer generation politicians want it gone because they don't know how to deal with it. It's something that they just can't understand. And, the one thing I'd also like to bring back is being able to bring a bill to the floor or amend a bill while you're on the floor, which I don't know if you know, but those two things can't happen in Congress.
They hide them in committees.
Yeah, and they're hidden in committees and they're finalized before they come to the body. And you can't do anything about it. You can just vote for or against. That's your only options.
If we get 11 people in, because I don't know, there are dozens of House candidates and there are 11 U.S. Senate candidates who are libertarian, who are on the ballot in their states. We need a gold rush. We need at least 5 to win, man. If we get 5, we can do damage.
Well,
11.
If we get one elected, right, it'll change the political dynamic in Congress forever.
Yeah, because that one will be a watchdog.
But they can keep me out of, because I still say I'm winning it. I don't know why. They can keep any of us out of committees, even though I've had the top secret and I've been a veteran. They can keep us out of veterans. They can keep us out of armed services. They can keep us out of intelligence. They've proven that Jesse Ventura, when he won, proved that it's not enough to win You have to be able to have some leverage over these folks so that they enact your vision, because they stymied his vision. They stymie the visions of people they don't like. So we have to have a plan to attack them and get into these committees, because you're right. We can't bring stuff directly to the floor.
The one thing that they can't stop is the media attention that it's going to have. Right? Especially for my state. So we have just a little bit over 1 million people in the entire state. One of the lowest populations. I think we're the second lowest in the lower 48. Only beat out by Wyoming. So having this kind of leverage, if a libertarian were elected to Congress from Montana, it would be a huge spotlight within the state because we're such a small state population-wise, but it would also be, because of that national news. I didn't mention this during my intro, but this has become the #1 Senate race in the United States. Just to put that into perspective, $242 million has been spent on the Senate race so far.
Wow.
Yes. And if you think about the size of our state, that's ridiculous, right?
That's disgusting.
It was your race that Trump came to your state and said that you had dropped out.
No, he didn't say I dropped out. So he inferred that I would have a big message for everybody soon. They told me of the, they relayed to me the benefits if I were to drop out and how the Republicans would hold the Senate.
I was hoping I would have that.
On the cabinet, that kind of thing.
I was hoping I would have that kind of situation here in Florida, because I would have taken it and I would have used that opportunity for that big message to ask my opponents to drop out and endorse me.
So that was one of my things that I kept coming back with. So this was a theme during that whole night, which was the most uncomfortable situation I've probably ever been in, right? Was being at a Trump rally as a libertarian, running against their candidate that the rally was there for, Tim Sheehy's rally. But anyway, I was very adamant on staying in this race. We've had a lot of libertarians drop out of these congressional races due to pressure, whatever. It really disheartens libertarians in Montana. And, I'm sticking through to the end, which, at this point, it doesn't matter anyway. My name's still going to be on the ballot regardless. Voting started last Friday. So anyhow, I'm in it to the end. And, people keep asking me, about how I'm playing a spoiler or something like that. Right. I mean, you guys probably get that as well.
Every freaking day. It stinks.
And, my response to them is, I'm not a spoiler. I'm here to collect the votes that are already mine, right? These are votes that if there's no libertarian, they go to somebody else, or more likely libertarians skip that piece I wonder what the undervotes are like if there's no libertarian in. But these are votes that belong to me and people that have this way of thinking.
Yeah.
And but this is a huge theme, especially in this race, because this is Tester's run for his 4th term. The 3 before, twice we had libertarians in that race, and they beat the spread. So the Republicans blame us for spoiling the race and putting John Tester into office. Okay. And that's just over and over and over again. But you're right, Mike, your commercial was right, spot on. The lesser of two evils is still evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Even if they win, you can at least be proud of your vote.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, it's your vote. They assume your vote and go, well, you're pulling votes away. No, dude, he's got to earn my vote just like she's got to earn my vote. And neither one of them are doing it. So why is that illogical for me to go shut the heck up, vote for the candidate who best represents you? And if everybody else does that, the libertarians would win in a landslide. It wouldn't even be close. And that's why they spend what? You said 272 million?
242 as of the last financial report.
240. God, that's disgusting. That should change lives, man. That shouldn't.
Exactly.
God, that's gross. It's gross.
And you know what? We don't steal votes. We do not steal votes. We earn them. We earn them. And we either earn them through our own hard work and dedication that we do and everything that we bring to the table as candidates, or we earn them by the Republicans and the Democrats putting up bad candidates and bad policies. We earn those too.
Being beholden to a particular politician or a particular political party is like thinking the stripper really, really likes you at the club. She doesn't.
I love that analogy. And the one thing we're not doing is we're not buying votes, right? We're definitely not doing that.
Speaking of not buying, 242 million spent so far. How much have you thrown into that mess?
I'm under 10 grand, but I have some advantages. So I have a job that lets me have a very flexible schedule. I have a car. I have a Hyundai Ioniq that gets around 50 miles to a gallon. So I've been buzzing around the state all, during the nice weather. It's about to snow here, so that's probably going to stop here real soon. But I have some advantages. I have libertarians all over the state that I can go and stay with. I don't have to spend money on expensive hotel rooms and things like that. And I know that, even if I were to have raised another $10,000, $20,000, it would be negligible compared to me actually getting out there. And, I'm not saying that I would not accept it. I could put it into some limited advertising or something. But the one thing that really heartens me is people send me emails all the time, or they'll call me up, or they'll leave a message on social media. But there's a lot of people that are, thank you so much for being in this race, or please don't drop out of this race because we need somebody to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's heartening.
Well, the fact that you have a sitting elected position and you're running for another sitting or another elected position, that's awesome. That's rare. Both you and Bob Drach, you and Jim being sitting candidate or sitting, incumbents is awesome for libertarians. It shows that we are not crazy fringe folks. Not all.
And you're right. So these are nonpartisan positions, but everybody knows I'm a libertarian. I mean, I've been at the chair of the Montana Libertarian Party, for almost a decade now. People know who I am. They know what I'm about. And in fact, they made fun of me when I got elected the first time. Like, what is this guy going to do? Lobby for longer yellow lights? That was their, it's kind of a joke. But I have a lot of people that really appreciate my view. I vote against my own counsel a lot. I bring a different perspective, and I think people really resonate with that.
Because you're trying to do the right thing and you're genuine. Even if they disagree with you, people recognize real. And that's great. That's beautiful to see. So.
Libertarians have an advantage when they're in a legislative or governing role. We have a statement of principles, right?
Yep.
And we just have to bounce the ideas across that. We don't have to soul search and see what we really think about it. We're already a libertarian for a reason, right? Yeah. You just bounce that against your classic liberal philosophy, and usually the answer is right there, crystal clear. There's been a few things here that have happened in council where I have really, really had to think, and but for the vast majority, I can just say, no, this is a dumb idea. I voted against like the last fire regulation update because it included banning folks from being able to have a barbecue on their patio in a multifamily environment. And I'm like, that's dumb. Let's make the landlord require that if you're going to have one of those, you just have to have this. You either you pay a little bit more in rent so that you can buy fire insurance, or you pay for the fire insurance yourself and barbecue on your deck.
Why would anybody think to outlaw barbecuing on your deck? I don't understand that.
It's just a fire hazard. It's risk aversion, right? And one thing that people are really freaked out by when I say it, they view the city council's role as being, you're supposed to make us safer. Public safety is your number one thing. And I'm like, I disagree at this point. I think you're safe enough. You're not free enough, but you're safe enough.
There you go.
We start working on growing back our freedom, which should be inherent where we live here in the United States, right?
Stupid story that kind of only slightly relates to it. I was up in Alaska and they had this classic bar where they got this big old block of cheese and you just go up and get it and put it on a plate. And the government said they weren't allowed to do that. They've been doing it for as long as they've been open. And they said you're not allowed to do that because the cheese isn't refrigerated. So they put a sign on the cheese that says, for display only, do not eat. And they left the plates and they left the slice.
That's great.
I mean, that seems kind of like American spirit to me. So you can't do whatever. I don't know why the government gets to say you can't.
Well, are they worried that it's going to become more cheese?
I don't know.
Is it going to be more cheesy because you let it?
I got nothing. They just said, I guess somebody could get food poisoning or whatever if it rot. I don't know, but they left it on there and they still do it. So I'm a fan of Alaska for that. So.
It's funny because they need to research how cheese is made, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
So Sid, tell us how you became a libertarian, how you chose this party to be your banners to continue on with your community service and serving the country.
Yeah, so that's a great story. I actually could have cared less about politics. I thought it didn't matter what my view was for most of my adult life. And in 2015, I was like, I finally have a candidate, because I wasn't really aware of previous elections. I was like, I finally have a candidate that I actually want to vote for. So I became politically active. Now, a lot of people got drawn into our party by Ron Paul and his couple runs. I was oblivious. I would think I was in Germany during those times. But anyway, I ordered a Johnson T-shirt, and I went to Taco Bell one day for lunch, and there's this other guy with a Johnson shirt on across on the other side of the restaurant, and we were like, looked at each other. It was kind of like one of those love stories where you hear the music in the backgrounds or whatever. And I went up and started talking to the guy, and he was the vice chair of the Libertarian Party here in Montana. And I really didn't know what a libertarian was at that point. I just knew I liked what Johnson was saying. So he pointed me to the website. He kept in contact with me. I went and read the statement of principles and like, wow, I didn't know I was a libertarian. And most Montanans are libertarian. The word libertarian in Montana and the laissez-faire part of libertarianism is very, very popular here. We have a great following all the way up until they get into the voting booth. And then they vote defensively instead of for who they want.
Voting out of fear.
Yeah, exactly. And that's skill that the two big parties really have.
Well, that's not quite fair. They also have the press, which are complicit. And like you said, $242 million is a lot of messaging to blow into somebody's mind when they're not even paying attention. It's ubiquitous, and it's like a psychic assault. You get so many political attack ads probably for your opponents, one against the other, paid for by outside interests. I mean, at least that's the way it is here. It's disgusting.
And a little shout out here. So if Mike Fucci is watching this or ends up watching it here in the near future, I just told our little love story there. So there you go. That's why I'm a libertarian. It was a chance meeting in a restaurant.
That's awesome.
If you can call Taco Bell a restaurant.
Johnson brought me into the party also, because when I was younger, they told me Ron Paul was racist. And when I was very young, that's all you had to say. And I just never paid attention to them. So sorry, Dr. Paul. I understand you're probably not racist.
Well, that's a tool that they use against whoever. It's harder to use against me. Obviously, it's harder to use against you. I married a black woman 34 years ago. So I'm either like the worst racist ever or not racist. So
you wasted a perfectly good haircut on not being a racist.
I know, exactly. Well, you know what? Believe it or not, this is not a choice that I had, but you look like you have that hairstyle by choice. I do not.
Oh no. I got the Willie way back. There's nothing growing right there at all. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. No, I'm so happy that you're running. I'm sorry.
I would like to share the your website in real quick with you guys. Sure. So this is Sid's website. U.S. Army non-commissioned officer, veteran. Got some good videos here. I wasn't able to upload directly the other commercial that you sent me.
It's big. It's bigger. It's almost 2 minutes.
I can share it. I can definitely share it here in just a second. A little about you. Let's see. So Montana. So your mother's side, the dream of early settlers in territorial Montana. Okay.
Yeah. So being a fourth generation of Montana, unlike probably the states that you live in, 4 generations ago, Montana was not a state. It was a territory. So that's how long on my mom's side we've been here.
Yeah. The United States and its Bill of Rights forms the core of my principles, as it should. Got some merch.
Just yard signs.
That's a cool yard sign. A little bit.
I have an amazing story behind that logo. If we have time, I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us.
So it's pretty interesting and unique to have a duck on a political sign, right?
Yeah.
You don't see a whole bunch of those. That duck is a symbol for me that will remain, part of my core forever. So on city council, one of the first issues that got brought up, by the way, I started city council January of 2020. Okay. So that was like obviously the best year ever to start out in a government position. Anyway, one of the first things that came up before us was we have a park here that was just overrun with domestic ducks and geese and what we called Franken ducks, because they were exotic ducks that were given to children like on Easter or whatever, that were then released into the park and interbred. So the effect of this was little kids would come there and they couldn't use the playground because the geese would attack them. And there wasn't a square inch of that park that wasn't covered with goose droppings. There were so many that in the pond that it made the pond bad. It was a bad environment for the ducks. And so people were complaining to the city council for years, do something about this. And finally, we said, okay, well, we're going to work with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, because who knows more about wild animals than these guys. And the council session started, and they gave us a document, and the document was it detailed 4 ways to kill ducks. That's basically what it was. So the local community found out about that, and it just blew up on social media. They were like, the city council is going to kill the ducks like immediately. And when the reality was, it would have taken us about 1.5 years to put any kind of plan into place, because that's the speed of government, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they got in such an uproar about it that within 2 weeks, they gathered 200 volunteers. They found 2 waterfowl experts to help them out. They had a whole bunch of cages that were donated. They built a fence, and they all linked arms, and they guided all the ducks and geese into that fenced off area. the waterfowl expert would take out the native ducks and release them because, they're federally protected. And they adopted out every single domestic duck and goose and frankenduck. So the community in 2 weeks solved the problem. And that is the power of community over government. So that's what that duck means to me. It's the symbol of the power of community over government.
2 weeks, and the community came together and fixed it. And it would have taken 2 years for you to do it through the council.
Yes, and the outcome would have been way worse. We would have
ended up killed a bunch of ducks.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
We found out later on that this is something that the community had done for years. About every 3 to 5 years, they would do this. But there was a generational knowledge gap of about 30 years where it hadn't happened. And, now that we've figured this out again, I'm pretty adamant about keeping this alive, and every 3 to 5 years do the same thing.
That's awesome. You guys know ducks and geese are edible. And there's a whole hunger thing out there.
Sure. Yeah. That was one of the issues that were brought up was, hey, maybe we should just kill them and cook them up for the homeless, right? Something like that.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, there's some people that don't like that. And they're probably not the most healthy animals, especially if you compare it to like a natural, a native duck or goose.
That's why you cook them.
Yeah,
I fry them if they're not healthy.
Yeah, they
I was duck hunting on Saturday. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your duck story.
The duck story is something that's going to stick with me forever. It's going to follow me for the rest of my life. So,
and we forget that people used to have connection and community and solve community problems. Yeah. And we're reinventing the wheel a lot because we lost our corporate memory, which is a lot of the old folks.
Well, so you're bringing up a point that a lot of the things that we complain about today, we could solve easily. The daycare problem should never even be a problem. We have a community of not only parents, but like grandparents out there. The problem is that we have leaned so far on you have to be certified by the state or by the government, or you can't provide a service. It is wrong. I mean, what happened prior to the first certified daycare? You just gave them to somebody that said, hey, I want to take care of your kids, or you got together as a community and said, okay, we're going to share the responsibility of watching our children so you guys can go to work.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Sid, today's topic is prosperity. And how do you see a libertarian in the United States Senate as creating more prosperity for Americans?
Well, that's an interesting question because that's basically what we're all about, right? And we're about enabling human flourishing. And I used to hate that word. It sounded alien to me. I didn't really understand it, but the more and more I think about it, I think human flourishing is a great term. We will allow, well, I'm not sure what kind of impact you can have. Like if I was the only libertarian in Congress, I don't know what impact I could have, but I do know that I would be the squeakiest wheel up there saying, you guys can't spend any more money. You can't have a spending bill because you don't have a budget or you've already blown past your budget. Mm-hmm. So this year, when they did the continuing resolution, they blew past it in 2 weeks. After 2 weeks after that continuing resolution was adopted, they were over that amount, and we've been spending over that amount since then. And that's, back in, I forgot what month it was. We had a potential government shutdown, and they finally passed the CR. But being responsible, just somebody up there saying you don't have any money to spend is enough. I mean, I don't think people put it into that perspective. We're spending money we don't actually have.
on the order of billions. Like I said, $70,000 to $100,000 per second, every second of every day, depending on the month and how many tax receipts come in and all that fun stuff.
And that in and of itself is a travesty. I mean,
disgusting.
We're supposed to have a government, a limited government, right? We're supposed to have a limited government. That's how the Constitution was written. That's how our country came to be. Government only needs to do what it has to do. And the entire time government's doing that, it's our responsibility as citizens to keep a wary eye on them and make sure that they're doing what we want them to do. We stopped doing that a long time ago. And government has just like run off the rails. The United States government is the largest employer in the world.
2 million
people in the U.S. government than anybody has anywhere in any other government and in any private corporation.
Yeah, Walmart, McDonald's, none of them. Amazon, none of them have as many employees.
And I don't know what your state looks like, but our state government is the largest employer in the state.
We have, 18 to 20% of Maryland employees work for the government in some level, state, local, or federal. So like 400 some odd thousand people, 418, 480, I forget the number.
And some of those stats are skewed a little bit because they include teachers in that pool, right? But technically,
I'm not sure if they include military, though. I'm not sure if military is included in that, because that might be,
Yeah. I don't. That's another thing that really is resonates here in Montana is we have the highest. We actually fight with Alaska for number 1 and number 2 slots with largest percentage of veterans per capita, and so and you would think that would make us a more militaristic society, but it doesn't. It actually has a calming effect, and people understand because they're either a veteran or they're the family of a veteran in most cases. They understand that this is something that we need to hold more dear to our hearts. We shouldn't be deploying troops like we're deploying them. I don't think the human cost is ever calculated, and we're creating so many broken veterans.
Oh, I've seen it. If you go up to what do you call it? The hospital thing they have at the Pentagon, they take the guys from up at the hospital and they bring them through and they do a march of heroes. And you see, they're beautiful kids, man, all of them. And they were just in various levels of disrepair, missing limbs, hurt, just, and some of them are going to heal and be fine. But like you said, whenever I was riding motorcycles, somebody would tell me a horror story about motorcycles, and I'm like, I've lost 3 times as many folks as you could ever mention. With veterans, it's the same way, man. I've seen it. There is a human cost.
And the cost that is not visible is probably the biggest, right? The mental health is, I've had a lot of my buddies from my service days committed suicide. And, that's a lot, partially on us for allowing this to go on for so long, for these endless wars. My children have never known a day of non-warfare in their life. They've grown up in a perpetual state of war. And that's something that, and it's so commonplace now, people don't think about it. They don't even understand, or they don't comprehend that I'm sitting here going to my job day to day. There's some other guy out there that is in a dangerous situation, and we put them there, right?
We had Master Sergeant serving over in the stand with his A1C, son, 19, 20 years apart.
Yeah, I remember that story. That was national news when that little story broke out, right?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting, with no formal declaration of war.
Yeah,
and no way out of it. No.
Yeah. So we were fighting that here in our state legislature because we were trying to say, okay,
defend the
state guard can't go if the governor doesn't allow it, or if Congress or Congress must declare war first, right? Which sounds radical to people nowadays, but the reality is, if we send troops into combat today without declaring war, the American people were not included in that decision.
No,
and
not at all.
In most cases, they don't support it.
And we still pay for it.
When those guys come back, they're coming back to a society that A, didn't even know that they were there, or B, were against what they were doing. What kind of mental health does that give you when you're putting your life on the line day in, day out?
Yeah, it's getting ugly out there and people don't see it. And it's adding to hyperinflation. So it's bad all the way around.
Yes.
Mind, body, and wallet.
I think I think one thing that libertarians can have a corner on is the end the Fed thing, right?
Yeah.
Trying to educate people about what the Federal Reserve does and how it manipulates the market in a Keynesian way, which is like the worst economics there is, right? It's hard to explain to people that they are actually the problem, because you have big time politicians saying things like it's corporations putting less chips in your chip bag, right? Here's a newsflash for you. Companies have always been greedy. They're not greedy now. They're always greedy. And if government allows them to have, favors over another company, they will take it. It's not their problem, because ultimately most of us work for one of those companies, right? Yeah. It's not. We should not be punishing the companies. We should be punishing the politicians that are allowing this, and ending corrupt federal agencies like the FDA, which has been, bullshitting us our entire lives, right?
Well, punish the government. Get rid of those agencies. I'm a huge fan. But companies used to be led by people who at least had, some compassion for the people that were buying from them. It wasn't all about profit. Sometimes they literally thought about their people until profit became the motivating thing for all of America. But y'all know we're like 5 minutes over, don't you?
Yeah, I've been trying to say something for
sorry. We're rolling over you, Feena. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
my bad. We won't do it when we all win Senate. I'm telling you, 11 of us.
There's nothing worse than a bunch of, federal candidates having a discussion, right? You're never going to be on time.
All right. So, Sid, I'm going to give you the solo spotlight one more time, give you your 2-minute elevator speech, and then we've got to go because we are way over time.
And that's okay. I appreciate you having me on today. And the one thing that I will say is I'm not here to play the game. I'm here to change it. And that is, we all need to change this game. We can't keep playing the game and expecting a different outcome. If you don't start voting third party or finding quality, there are quality candidates in the two big parties, but the problem with that is they're super oppressed by their own party and they're forced to do things that they don't want to do. The one thing that libertarians have over any other political party in America is I don't care what the Libertarian Party wants me to do. I'm running on a system of principles that I have myself. And, welcome to the rational middle with me here. Let's have more people vote for who they want instead of who they don't want. Don't vote against a candidate, vote for who you want, and you'll never feel bad. Even if your candidate doesn't win, at least you voted for somebody you actually support. So please support me running for U.S. Senate. I'm drowned out money-wise here in Montana, but I'm making a difference. I've had a huge platform to message this year, and a lot of people are resonating with that. So I want to thank everybody for the opportunity just to be able to do this.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you.
Thank you for running.
For watching. Thank you for running. Thank you for being an elected official. Thank you for serving. And folks, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.